In Memoirs of a Future Ghost, Heather Dobson probes her fears while seeking out the paranormal, sharing the true, often freaky and or funny, sometimes sad tales over a decade investigating ghosts and the people haunted by them. Through extraordinary occurrences in the everyday, she weaves a logical tale that death is nothing to be feared, that an afterlife exists, and though just like in life, there's a bad egg that gets all the press, more ghosts just miss their homes, people, and lives and want to stay as close as they can. Memoirs of a Future Ghost is a love letter to the legitimacy of science, the joys of life, and the truth within the mystery of an afterlife ahead of us all. Available through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, indiebound.org, and afutureghost.com.
What has red eyes, makes weird noises, and radiates a foul odor? If you guessed a hungover Dave, you're right. But it's also how a group of eyewitnesses described the Flatwoods Monster. In 1952, multiple witnesses across rural West Virginia all claimed to have seen something flying through the sky, beaming a red light, and crashing into the nearby woods. Today, we'll take a look at their experience and also discuss investigations done by state troopers, the U.S. Air Force, and the National Guard. We'll also discuss how this incident is connected to Project Blue Book. Was it a meteor? Was it a plane crash? Or is there really an entity living in Flatwoods, West Virginia, yet to be fully discovered? Let's talk about it. I'm Mike.
I'm Ian.
And I'm Dave. If you thought the Flatwoods Monster was another college nickname for Mike's cock, stick around. We're headed deep into the hills of West Virginia to find out. This is Necronomipod.
These kids were playing just before sundown down on this field at the bottom of the village. And one of the kids looked up, and one of the little ones, I differentiate between kids and young people. Say kids, the 5, 6, 7-year-olds, and the young people above that, you see. One of the kids looked up and he said, in so many words, "What on earth is that?" And they all looked around, and round the edge of a hill, behind the village, the north of the village, but lower than the peak of that hill, or the one opposite it, came a pear-shaped, glowing red object which was pulsing from cherry red to bright orange, according to all the witnesses. It was traveling blunt end first.
All right, so we're back to what? L. Ron Hubbard, and we're going to get audited. And,
Scientology number 5?
Yeah, so is that what we're talking about today? Or
Technically, it would be a part 6.
Oh, part 6? I'm sorry, you're right.
Is that what we're doing today? Or?
No, we are not.
Quick shout out to Tony Ortega, though, who did do a whole interview with you for one of those breaks there in the middle of Scientology.
Yeah, it was super fun.
Yeah, I don't think we gave him enough kudos on the last episode. So shout out to Tony Ortega, and go back and check out that episode in the archive. Ian did an awesome interview with him as a little break from our 4-week bit on Scientology. So we're not on Scientology anymore. We finished.
I love it.
Put a bow on that.
Moving on to some real stuff tonight.
Yeah,
a serious
cryptids,
issue.
maybe.
I mean, if we're going to compare straight up, is it that different? The beliefs in Scientology and Flatwoods? If we're looking straight up, information,
I would.
If we're going to compare Xenu to the Flatwoods Monster,
I would put more stock in the Flatwoods Monster.
I 100% agree. I will say that I named my Roomba Xenu.
Does it respond to you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
It's like you hook it into your Wi-Fi in the app, and if it gets stuck or something, it says Xenu is trapped under your chair or something.
Really? Because I call my Roomba my wife.
I'm sure your wife will love that joke. It's great.
Oh, boy. Get me in trouble.
Forget that
Ian, use your
everybody
judgment on
listens.
that one. You might want to cut that one. Unless you want me spending the night over here a couple nights next week.
You'll be over here Saturday. You can stay the night.
After the fights. A big fight Saturday night.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Well, this episode actually came out after, so never mind.
Hopefully the fights were good.
Hope you enjoyed those UFC fights last night. Man, those were fucking awesome. We got drunk and watched them. But anyways, We'd had a good 4 parts on Scientology. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Go back and check it out if you haven't listened to those. We had some good help from Castbox that actually gave us quite a few weeks on their website, on their
on the banner page.
On the banner page, yeah. So
we're up there with Kate Hudson and
Dr. Phil and fucking Joe Rogan.
We're no slouches. That's where we belong.
If you're going to put a Mount Rushmore of podcasts, Kate Hudson, Joe Rogan, Dr. Phil, and then our fucking three faces, right?
Well, Rogan, maybe. I don't know about Kate Hudson's podcast.
I don't know. Isn't that good? I haven't listened to it.
I would not listen. I have no idea.
Wow.
I don't know about Mount Rushmore, though.
Well, I'm just saying, according to Castbox, we're up there. Either way, it was a big week for us. It was good. So,
and I mean, I'll take I like Dr. Phil, actually. My opinion of him changed after I listened to him on Joe Rogan.
Yeah?
Yeah, he was pretty cool.
Joe Rogan can get the best out of anybody, though.
That's true. Yeah.
Was the Cash Me Outside girl the best Dr. Phil guest ever?
Might be.
Yeah.
She might be. I mean, the most,
How about that?
socially trending, at least. Or she went viral more than anybody else, probably.
I think she's a rapper now.
I know she got like a big makeup deal and stuff. Yeah.
She was like, 14, 15 years old? Goddamn, pal.
She turned that shit into something.
Son of a bitch. So real quick before we get started, if you are not a Patreon, patreon.com/Necronomipod. As of last week, we started a $1 feature. Just if you want to help out the show, help support us a little bit. You will also get a shout out on the show. If you are inclined to get the bonus episodes, that would be the $5 feature. We just released this past Thursday a trivia game show with a couple patrons squaring off against me in trivia. Did not go great, but you can go ahead and listen to that if you're a patron, or subscribe and listen. We got a bunch of good Patreon episodes available for you.
Wait, did not go great as far as putting on a show, or did not go great as far as you squaring off against patrons?
Yeah, I got fucking bent over and broken the ass 2 straight games. Clearly, I did not do my homework, and I did not know what the hell I was doing. Congratulations to Dustin and Whitney. They both...
Smoked your ass.
Smoked my ass, yeah. But good for them. We'll do that again in the future, and I'm going to study harder next time and, do better. Ian, what do we got today?
Tonight we are going to do the Flatwoods Monster. And this one is really interesting because I went into this thinking cryptid, and quickly I found out that this is more of an alien story.
I think I would agree.
And it actually has a little bit of weight to it at the end that we'll get into.
Like I said in the opening, it's not a college nickname for Mike's cock, correct?
This one is not. No.
So it has some weight to it.
I've been called many things. Flat is not one of them. # Blue Chew.
Do you mean because if it was, it would have no weight to it? Is that what you were trying to imply, Ian?
Yes.
Not gonna answer that question.
All right, let's get started.
Right. So located in Braxton County, West Virginia, is the town of Flatwoods, which has a population of only 270 people. So it is a small town.
And coincidentally, it's only about 120 miles from Point Pleasant, where the Mothman took place.
We will get into that in the theories.
Boom.
But it is known worldwide for an encounter with an entity known as the Flatwoods Monster, and it's also known as the Frametown Monster and the Green-Eyed Monster. And, with the worldwide stuff, I didn't realize it is, like, huge over in Japan. They fucking love this thing.
Really?
Flatwoods Monster?
Yeah.
Really?
They have, like, all kind of merch and stuff. It's crazy.
No shit.
Yeah, they love
Why
it.
is that?
I have no idea. I feel like Japan just like they attach on to certain things and
don't they love kind of like American pop culture to an extent, right?
Yeah.
So
that and used panty vending machines.
Well, they do love their used panty vending machines.
I want to go to Japan so bad. Not for the used panty machines, but
I don't believe you.
Yeah. Send us back a pair, Pally. Dave, you're going, aren't you?
I'm going 2021 to Japan, yes.
Well, he'll send you some used panties, Ian.
sounds like a plan.
Fresh out of a machine, fresh off of a woman.
I'm going to buy them wholesale and bring them back. We could sell them here.
There you go. So the encounter started around 7:15 p.m. on the evening of September 12th, 1952, brothers Fred and Edward May, aged 11 and 13, their friend Tommy Heyer, aged 10, and 2 unnamed boys were playing football at the Flatwoods school playground when they caught the sight of a glowing red pear-shaped object with a fiery tail traveling blunt end first through the air. It flew over their heads and stopped in the air before descending on the nearby farm of Mr. Bailey Fisher. The May boys ran to their mother, Kathleen May, to tell her what they had seen.
So this was their sister?
Their mother.
Oh, so it was their sister?
West Virginia Joe.
Sorry, continue.
Dave's cracking himself up over
Yeah,
it. He really popped himself with that one. Ian's like, fuck you, dude. Just let me get through this story.
At least we're not talking about fucking Xenu, right?
At least it's something new this week. So the object didn't appear to have crashed, but the boys' first thought was that it was a meteor, which could have been valuable. And so they wanted to go check it out. And I watched the documentary that came out last year, and that's what they said. The one was like, it's the 2 brothers, the Fred and Edward May. That's what the one was like. Yeah, we thought there could be gold on it or something. We're like, oh shit, let's go.
I'd be running up there too.
Hell yeah,
absolutely. Well, and it was early in the age of UFOs, so maybe not like today. I think maybe your first thought's a UFO, but maybe back then, it's not your first thought. Maybe a meteor is the first thing you think of.
Right.
Yeah.
So Kathleen stepped outside and could see off in the distance on the Bailey farm a pulsing red light. So with the assistance of Eugene Lemon, age 17, who was a member of the National Guard, and his dog, which the dog is described as like a shepherd mix, I guess, a big dog.
Okay.
She agreed to take the boys to go see what it was. And the way I pictured it, or from reading things and watching the documentary, was it sounded like just a group of fired up kids showed up there, like ready to go, and it sounded like she was like, "Fuck, fine, whatever, shut up, I'll take you." Which I probably
there's 270 people in the town, so what the fuck else do you have to do that night, right?
Right, exactly. Well, the 2000, I don't know how many people were there then. 270 is what's there now.
Oh,
today.
Now we're talking about in the 50s.
Well, maybe it was 500,000 back then, and this monster drove them all out.
Well, or it could have been 12, and they were all related. Go talk to your mother, brother. Go have dinner. Go wash up.
Your mother, brother.
So, in addition, the group also added 14-year-old Neil Nunley and 2 10-year-old boys, Ronnie Schaefer and Teddy Neal, who had also seen the red object, and they wanted to see what it was. Eugene Lemon led the group by flashlight, taking them up a steep hill into a wooded area. After beginning the climb, the group noticed a warm, fog-like mist and this really sickening sulfur-like odor that burned their eyes and noses. At least one of the witnesses also heard a mechanical whining sound. As they got closer to the landing site around 8 p.m., Eugene's dog stopped and growled and then ran into the mist. And then a few minutes later, the group heard it barking aggressively before it came running back. So this dog went in there and then it's like, fuck that.
Well, which is different. Most movies, the dog runs in and then you hear,
it dies.
And you don't hear anymore.
Stop it.
At least this time the dog came back, right?
That's true.
Or like Rambo when they sent the dogs in there and he fucking slit their throats and the dog's like,
Jesus, man. Fucking brutal. I always think of the first Halloween. I think it's the first Halloween.
Oh,
when,
yeah.
Mark strangles the dog.
Yeah.
And you just see the legs. Yeah. That's fucked up.
Yeah, not great.
Oh, that's the fucked up part. The killing the dog in Halloween.
Yeah. I think it is. I think we can all agree that's the worst part.
Not the teen girls, the dog.
Well, never mind. It's going to go down a different road there.
So the group continued through a wooden gate and up the hill to the landing site. The younger boys stayed at the gate with Eugene Lemon's dog, who refused to go any further. The 5 that continued experienced more of a concentrated form of the mist and that sulfur smell. And Kathleen May heard a hissing sound that she described as it sounded like frying food. I think I saw it too, that she said it sounded like bacon frying.
So sizzling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of odd.
Yeah, it's weird.
Well, it's not something you expect to hear out in the woods, right?
Right.
Yeah, right, exactly.
While approaching something and with the horrific smell and
Right.
yeah.
Getting to the area, the group saw a large, rounded black object about 50 feet away in a gully to their right. The ball was over 20 feet wide, and the entire thing was glowing from within, and they said it was pulsating between a cherry red and a pale orange. As the group continued to get closer, Eugene Lemon noticed what he thought were the eyes of a raccoon sitting in a tree to the left of the object and shined his flashlight in the direction. In the beam of light was a dark, metallic, quote-unquote, monster that was standing 7 to 12 feet tall and was hovering a few feet above the ground. And it seemed like when the flashlight went on, it seemed like it turned on, like it came alive when the flashlight.
So it was kind of dormant until it noticed somebody was there.
Yeah. Its face was lit red from behind, and its eyes were like portholes that passed beams of yellow light. Its head, which the witnesses assumed was a helmet, was shaped like the ace of spades. Though some disagreed on the appearance of the entity's body, Kathleen May described it as being pleated like a skirt, and that there were thin arms protruding from the shoulders with, quote, clawed-like toy hands. So that's
like little raptor arms.
Yeah. Take my strong hand.
The bottom sounds like Hellraiser, right? Like the skirts that the Hellraiser Cenobites would wear.
This is like
no
Mothman meets Hellraiser meets like Ace of Spades type alien figure.
And this is what?
Because the Mothman had like those red eyes, right? Allegedly.
But and this was almost 20 years, 17 years before Mothman.
Yeah.
I got my Mothman koozie tonight that Dave got me from the...
Oh, nice.
See? Mothman Museum, Point Pleasant, West Virginia. Check it out.
Cheap plug.
It's pretty cool.
They are not a paid advertiser. Much like Blue Chew. Not a paid advertiser, but highly recommended.
She said it had like the skirt thing, but one of the May boys said, because he was pretty close to it, he said it was like tubes running down it, like these metal tubes. Like his opinion of it was that it was not a real entity. Like it was some type of a machine.
More mechanical.
Right. Like there was something inside of it is how he described it. Like it was almost like an armor of some sort or some type of a machine. Like we said, it came alive when the flashlight hit it, and it started to glide forward in the group's direction, still hovering off the ground. A thumping sound came from inside the creature's body, and it began to glow red in the face and green in the body.
That was not me hungover, as Dickhead Mike alluded to in the opener.
I've seen you hungover, man. It's not pleasant. It's not pleasant.
It then emitted a shrill hissing sound and released more of this thick mist.
Literally, when I asked Dave, "Hey, would you like some food? Like we're hungover. Would you want something?" I just heard this like hissing, shrill sound, and then this odor, and I was like, "Okay, fine. I'll just bring you like a double cheeseburger. Just leave me alone. Please don't eat me."
Where's this hostility coming from?
Saying, it's not pleasant.
It passed right in front of the closest three witnesses, and Kathleen May claimed it spit out an oily substance.
Yep.
She's like, I told you, Billy Bob, even the aliens don't swallow. They spit.
Is that Country Dave? Country
That's
Dave?
West Virginia, Dave.
Oh, okay. I like West Virginia Dave.
I ain't swallowing all your jizz, Billy Bob.
We got to set Country Dave up on a
Flatwoods Monster don't swallow nothing. He spits it out.
Hey, girl, hey.
So everyone took off and freaked out, ran away. But this entity, this thing didn't chase them. Instead, it turned around and went back towards the pulsating red object.
I got a pulsating red object right here for you. Sorry, go ahead.
Is this what happens when you guys do Power Hour before you come over?
Yep. You can go right ahead.
Mike and his fucking dog cock over there.
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Power Hour dog cock.
Don't knock it.
Can't contain myself.
I promise I won't interrupt anymore. Go ahead.
So regardless that it turned around, they took off back to their homes. and never saw the entity or the craft again, the red object. So this was a quick sighting of this thing.
It doesn't sound like, they want to do him any harm or had any malicious.
There was no evidence
thoughts.
of that, right?
Was it possibly their Thetan trying to get back into their body?
No.
Okay.
You can't see Thetan.
Oh, you're right.
Shut
Just
down.
making sure.
Shut down.
I still have Scientology on the brain.
So they all claim they saw something.
They all agree on the fact that it was really tall. It had like the creature, right? That it had the Ace of Spades helmet, and that Kathleen May said it was like its face was bright red and it had yellow eyes. But the two May boys that were closest to it said no, that was it was like a helmet. There was something inside of it. Like those weren't eyes. There was something inside of this thing.
And people see things different ways. Eyewitness accounts don't always line up like that.
Right.
That makes sense.
And this was a pretty quick.
Yeah.
And
you're out in the
for a
woods.
few seconds.
Yeah,
and
you're
like,
startled,
took off.
of course. Sure.
Well, that's what I'm trying to make sense of, like, realistically, what might they have seen that they misinterpreted maybe as something.
Well, we'll get into what the Air Force decided to say it was towards the end.
What they told us the answer was.
Yeah, what they said it was.
Yeah, right.
See,
Here's what it was. See here.
a point I would make is that if all these people decide to get together and come up with this as a hoax, I think all their descriptions would be exactly the same.
Right.
The fact that they vary, as witness accounts often do, I think lends more credence that they actually saw something.
Right.
I 100% think they saw something. That's why I'm just trying to figure out what they saw, what might have led them to think that they had this Ace of Spades, head or a helmet like the May brothers said, or,
If you take it at face value as what we've gone over so far, it would lead you to think that UFO crashed and here's this thing and it's, I guess maybe astronaut outfit, and was like, oh, I see these people.
Sure.
Here, I'm going to shoot whatever this substance is at them, scare them, and then it turned around and went back to its
compared to what we've studied and talked about up to this point. Though this is like a new description, isn't it?
Yeah, this is completely different than
so
all
this
your
doesn't
classic.
Look like the Betty and Barney Hills, or
unless it was a little thing inside there.
But it still looked different than what they saw. Right.
Yeah.
And this was different than Roswell looking, or, not to debunk it. I'm just saying this was different than anything else we had discussed in the past.
Yeah.
That had been UFOs or encounters.
And it was also prior to all the future, Betty Hill and future sightings.
Yeah.
This was after Roswell, wasn't it?
Yeah. 5 years after Roswell.
Okay. And Roswell claimed at some point little people.
Yeah, but Roswell didn't get like famous until years and years later.
Okay.
When Stanton Friedman tracked everybody down.
That's your boy, right? Stanton Friedman, you like him. Who's the dude we don't like?
Philip Klass.
Philip Klass, the debunker.
Yeah. So when they got back to town, it's reported that everyone in the group experienced nausea, irritation of their nasal cavities, severe swelling in their throats after inhaling this mist. Eugene Lemon had multiple convulsions and went into just violent fits of vomiting. Some of the children could hardly swallow water, and Kathleen May had to take her boys to the doctor. The doctor who treated them claimed that their symptoms were similar to those by victims of mustard gas.
That's interesting.
Well, it's worth noting with this that in that documentary that came out last year, the May brothers said this is absolutely not true.
That's also interesting.
Yeah, they both said that this is with all the reporting of it and everything, it turned into this folk thing, this whole urban legend type thing. But
Bat Boy type situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they said this is absolutely not true at all. That they saw it, they ran home, they were scared, and that's the one thing that leads me, gives credibility to them, is they were both. This documentary, as far as I know, is the first time that they've talked about it publicly in their adult lives, and they're pretty old at this point. And they were both like, we would prefer that it never even happened, to be honest.
Sure.
They were like,
So
if we saw it as
they made no money. They didn't try to like capitalize.
no, they just wanted it to go away.
Well, and just because some reporter embellished what took place afterwards doesn't necessarily discount the original story.
Right. Oh, I agree.
It sounded like if they would have seen this as an adult, they probably would have never said a word about it, and just that would have been that.
Would you, if you saw this sort of thing? Would you? I don't think I would say anything.
No, I would keep it to myself.
I would too.
I don't know how I would react.
I absolutely
really
would.
don't know.
I wouldn't report it to the authorities.
You mean like MUFON? You wouldn't report it to MUFON?
Yeah, and I think to this time,
NICAP?
I just don't see any upside to that.
at this time too is a little different with like the Cold War going on. Everyone's like real freaked out about everything going on, so they're going to
be called the communist.
Yeah,
be called the communist probably. I mean, for real, you probably would be
if you didn't report it.
If you did, even like if you said I saw the such and such, but no one else saw it, they're gonna be like, oh, this guy's communist. Maybe even if you didn't and then got called out for it later, you might be.
It was a weird time.
Yeah, it was a real weird time.
So immediately upon returning home at 8:45, Kathleen May called the sheriff, Robert Carr, who was really strange, was occupied in a search for a reported plane crash about 11 miles away. But the state troopers sent photojournalist A. Lee Stewart Jr. to the scene. So that's kind of fucking weird.
Well, was there an actual plane crash, or is he looking for this crash but has the wrong coordinates?
It almost sounded like he was looking for this but had the wrong coordinates, which is really weird. You know what I mean? That lends
11
more,
miles, sure.
But then it lends more credibility to the story that he's already out looking for something that's crashed that was called in by somebody else. It's just a weird.
That's an odd coincidence.
Yeah,
it is. So there was no reported or confirmed plane crashes that night.
No.
Yeah, that's strange.
Stewart arrived around 9 p.m. that night and convinced Eugene Lemon to take him back to the site. There he smelled a, quote, sickening odor, and the two found long tracks in the tall grass over a foot wide and 12 feet apart, leading from the hill down to the valley where the glowing object was seen. Stewart noticed a dark, oily substance on the ground while walking through these tracks. He then interviewed all 7 boys on tape and then got drawings from them of what they saw. And they all pretty much drew the same thing, just this long body, circle head, ace of spades.
The drawings are cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super cool. Stewart also...
I like Ian's version the best.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, that was fun.
We're going to post that one, too, for the record.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun to draw. Stewart also started to gather other witnesses in the area for accounts. A farmer that had an adjacent view to the Bailey farm reported that he saw a red light in the same areas where the monster was seen and everything was going on. And he thought it was a fire. When he got his binoculars to look closer before calling it in, he said that this thing just like kind of dimmed out and it was gone. And that was it. Another witness named Bailey Frayne also reported seeing a red object hovering around the treetops where the monster was seen, and she said it shot off in the direction of Sutton, West Virginia, who also had UFO reports called into their police station that night. And there's an airport there in Sutton, West Virginia, and they had UFO reports. So this whole like little area is like lighting up with UFO reports.
So everyone saw it.
Yeah.
Or saw multiple things, even.
Right. John Keel, who we remember from our Mothman episode.
Obviously. Yeah. I remember him.
Do you?
Of course. It's the hero.
Was he at the Washington Post at this time? Because
I'm not sure. I mean, he was ready to go. I mean, he
was a Post reporter at the Mothman at the time.
Was he the one
Mothman.
that was like the Men in Black came to him?
He gave us the first look at what the Men in Black were like.
Because they came to him.
Well, they were all over Point Pleasant, remember?
Yes. They were like, I just picture them walking around like trick-or-treating, like going to all those houses. That's how I think of them in my head.
And they were always bugging Mary Hyre
about
what John Keel was up to.
And she gave them no shit.
Yeah,
like
she didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Mary
Hyre was a hard ass.
Yeah.
Well, I visited, Point Pleasant last summer. I went to the Mothman Museum, and I was just standing on the street, trying to envision these Men in Black walking around town and what it must have been like back in the 60s.
Being super creepy.
Yeah.
It's not the fun Men in Black like Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones.
No, it's super awkward where the one clicking the pen, like he didn't know what it was, didn't know what it, just never saw something like it before.
When the guy didn't know how to eat a steak.
Yeah.
That guy.
What was he doing with the steak? Like he was looking at other people, or what did we say?
Trying to figure out how to cut it. He just started laughing at it.
Yeah. That's so creepy. They creep me the fuck out.
Yeah, if that's real, that's fucking way creepy.
Can you imagine being like at like a fucking Morton's or like a Ruth's Chris, like steakhouse? You look over and like the guy next to you's laughing at a steak, like looking like he doesn't know what the fuck to do with it. That's creepy as shit.
Yeah,
we gotta do an episode on the Men in Black, man.
We already did.
No, like
just strictly.
Yeah,
we got to do Albert Bender because he birthed that whole idea, and then we'll throw in some Men in Black stories in there too.
That works for me.
Yeah, that is literally the one and only paranormal thing that actually makes me uncomfortable to think about.
That's why we got to do it.
It's creepy.
Let's push the limits.
Extremely creepy.
The unsolved mysteries about the Men in Black is really fucking creepy too.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
Yeah,
but don't watch that until we do the episode.
Like the dude that came into the party with the radio or the tape recorder with the microphone, he couldn't figure out how to turn it on, so he just said fuck it and just started talking to people like it was on. Like, what is happening right now?
It's very strange.
It's like the definition of high strangeness. Weird. So John Keel from Mothman, he reported that early on the morning of September 13th, 1952, so we're talking probably like 5 to 6 hours after the initial sighting, a young couple who requested to stay anonymous had a similar encounter about 20 miles away in Frametown, West Virginia. According to the couple, they were driving through a wooded area when their car engine stalled. The husband got out of the car to check the engine while his wife stayed inside, and he noticed a weird light coming from the woods. Curious, he walked towards the woods to see what it was, but was hit with this burning sulfur smell, and he decided to go back to the car. Unlike the group of the kids, they all kept walking forward. Right. This guy was like, you know what? Maybe I'm not gonna go any further.
Why didn't he just call an Uber to go back to town?
The 1952 Uber.
Smart. Yeah.
That's right. Let me go walk into the woods and see what this burning sulfur is.
Once back in the car, the husband watched with his wife as what they described was a 7 to 10 foot tall entity hover out of the woods. They said the bottom half of this entity was, quote, bucket shaped metal devices, and the top half was exposed. The exposed part was like a reptilian humanoid that had these long arms with claw-like hands.
It's the same description.
It's like
very close.
It's almost like this fucking thing took off part of its outfit.
Like he had the Ace of Spades helmet he pulled off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he took half of his shit off, but still had the bottom part on.
It's really creepy.
The being hovered around their car, looking inside for a few minutes. So it was just like looking in the windows, and then it just turned around and hovered back into the woods. So that gives you like the same kind of vibe as before. It's not there to hurt anybody. It's just kind of curious and was checking out like, oh, what's this? And
also, you're shitting your pants at this point.
Clearly. Absolutely.
If you saw we'll post a picture of the drawings of this account. It is fucking
terrifying.
It is literally like what you would consider a reptilian, like a big fucking lizard.
Yeah.
Looking in like almost like a dragon with, like a human.
So if this thing came out of the woods and came towards your car, you're going to be shitting yourself.
At the same time, I really want to see something like this.
Yeah.
I would be torn. Like, I'm shitting my pants, but I really want to see this, though.
I want to see this.
I want to know that this exists in the world.
Right? Yeah, I would I would love it, but I would be fucking terrified.
Yeah, exactly right.
Would you rather see a UFO or this?
I would rather see this. I want to see something
really?
This is more proof than a UFO.
Yeah. I want to see something that just like flips my whole fucking worldview.
What do you mean, Dave? This is more proof than a UFO.
Well, it's clearly not human. So it obviously had to be in a UFO to get to this planet. So if you're seeing this,
so you're
already proving the UFO.
If you're seeing a UFO, you're saying that could be argued against.
Yeah, it could be the weather balloon, the Air Force argument.
Sure.
You see this, it's clearly not of this Earth, so you're already proving the UFO aspect of it.
Like, do you guys remember about like 8 years ago when there was all those UFO sightings on Lake Erie out there by Euclid? that were on the news?
I feel like you read those articles more than I do.
Well, I drove out there the one night because it kept happening. So I'm like, I'm going out. I'm going to see this fucking UFO or whatever's happening out here. And I sat, and it was really strange. It was these two red lights, and they were kind of like moving around. But I'm like, the NASA plant's right over there. Mm. It could have easily been some kind of drone or something. That's what I mean. Like, I want to see something that really blows my fucking mind.
Like this fucking thing.
Yeah.
You say a 7-foot tall reptilian can come out of the woods.
The guy don't live on this planet, so he obviously took a UFO on his trip here. So I'm proving both at the same point.
That's not a fucking red light. That's a fucking 7-foot tall lizard coming at me right now.
Right.
I get it.
Kind of like the Indrid Cold story. They called the police, and it filtered through, and the Air Force was contacted. The U.S. Air Force contacted the commander of the West Virginia National Guard, Captain Dale Levitt, who was already in Braxton County helping search for that plane crash that we talked about earlier. So that's even more strange that this guy was already there looking for something.
A plane crash that might not have actually happened.
That could have more than likely been this whole incident.
Maybe Men in Black were throwing him off the case.
But there's no record of a plane crash, which there would have been.
But there is a record of a meteor hitting that night, though.
But is there?
I believe there is.
The meteors in the area, yeah.
Yeah.
That wasn't just thrown out there by the government. There's legit meteors.
From what I read, there was a confirmed meteor that hit that night.
Okay.
I didn't see the confirmed. So I mean but I know that there was meteor showers
of meteor showers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So they contact this Dale Levitt guy who was already in the area and asked him to go out and inspect the scene. Levitt said that he arrived on the hill with 50 or 60 men around 1:30 a.m. and took samples of the dirt, leaves, wood, and an oily substance, and he described it as graphite grease, where this entity was seen.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like, if that happened today, do you think you'd get the National Guard and 60 people out there?
They were hyped at this time, and and we're going to get into Project Blue Book in a minute, but this is the year that Project Blue Book started in 1952, so they were all over this shit. He also found a 20-foot circle of depressed grass where the boys had seen the glowing object.
Which is exactly why they described it.
Right. An article in the Charleston Gazette in October 1954 revealed that Levitt found at least one metallic fragment and alleged that curious locals, because locals were coming up at this point too. Like, everybody was up there.
I'm sure, yeah. It's exciting. Nothing else going on there.
That they found black plastic-like materials. Levitt sent the samples to the Air Force for analysis like he was requested to, but he never personally heard back about what any of it was. He just did his job, and that was that.
Because why would they get back to him?
Yeah, I mean, they're not.
Yeah, they're not gonna.
Right. So we know that this is real. The Air Force did contact Dale Levitt to check it out and send back samples, because years later, when Project Blue Book was declassified, the Flatwoods Monster case was something that they investigated.
So Project Blue Book was that Mike's college plan to call every girl in the book to get rid of his blue balls?
It's 100% correct.
I like the thumbs up.
Yeah. For those of you watching on video demand, that's a thumbs up. Project Blue Book, which we first talked about in what episode?
We've talked about it, I think, in every Alien one so far.
Probably Roswell, going way back.
Roswell for sure.
Available in the archives. Roswell, MK Ultra.
Well, in the big one, we talked about it on Betty and Dreesen because J. Allen Hynek he's the guy, and we talked about him. Well, if anybody wants like a detailed thing that hasn't listened to that episode yet, go back and listen to that one, because we really get into Hynek. But
Betty and Barney Hill. Was that what you said for that one?
Betty and Dreesen.
Oh, Betty and Dreesen. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Blue Book on
several
on that one too. But
Betty and Dreesen, underrated episode, one we don't talk about very much. Available in the archives.
Yeah, and I mean, J. Allen Hynek's involved in this one a lot, and I mean, the History Channel just did their Project Blue Book series where they have.
I haven't watched that. Is it good?
It's all right. It's a little. They make J. Allen Hynek in real life is like the driest scientist on the face of the earth, but they have him Littlefinger from Game of Thrones plays him.
Okay. All right.
And yeah, they make him like this old school Fox Mulder almost.
Okay.
Which, I mean, it's cool, but it's not real, obviously.
Right.
That's not accurate. But I mean, he was the guy. He was on Project Sign, started in 1947, and then it flipped to Project Grudge in 1949, and then it flipped to Blue Book in 1952. And he was the dude. He was there from the beginning, and he was brought in to debunk all this shit. And like we know, we talked about in Betty and Dreesen, somewhere along the line he flipped and believed in this shit, and then went as far as to start believing that, or put forth theories that this is all interdimensional, that this is not from other planets, it's actually like right on top of us.
Which is what you believe.
Yeah. I think there's way more evidence of that than there is of something coming from another planet.
Yeah. I don't want to interrupt, but Mike, how did Project Blue Book in college, did it work out for you?
Of course it did. Yeah. Worked out very well for me. Just, word spread, and they were like, oh, this guy, he must be onto something. And, ever since then, Blue Chew was born, and they were like, we're going to base it off this guy's cock. If we can create a pill that can create the hardness of this guy, we're onto something. And then Blue Chew was born.
You're the model for Blue Chew, is what you're saying.
If you look at their website, it's me. I don't know what their website shows, but it's probably me. It's probably me.
Their About Us section has a whole story about you.
We wanted to model it after a steel rod, but this guy's cock was way better.
Exactly. Asked and answered. Blue Chew, an unofficial, non-paid spokesman of Necronomicon. He dropped his notes. Dropped his notes. He's laughing so hard over there. They've dropped his notes. All right. Where were we?
I feel like this power hour is like a much needed break from Scientology. Spend 5 weeks on that shit. Now just do a power hour and talk about some aliens.
I think you're right.
Yeah. So Blue Book dismissed all of the UFO reports. Like we said, that's the whole point of this, was just to debunk things. So they dismissed everything as the meteor shower, as well as what Kathleen May and the boys saw as a landed meteor. Kind of strange. You would think if it was a meteor landed, that this Levitt guy would have found it and not just a depression in the grass.
You would think, where did it go in between?
Right.
Sure.
Kind of strange. And as far as the monster itself, Blue Book said that they just saw an owl and got scared. That was the official answer from Project Blue Book.
Specifically a barn owl, which they say looks different and has short, or talons that it brings out that resemble those short raptor arms, like in the description.
Still, how big is a barn owl, though?
It's not 7 feet tall.
No, it's not.
Like at the biggest, what is it? 2-3 feet?
I think they get pretty big, like three, maybe 4.
Which is still fucking terrifying.
Yeah, it's a big ass bird.
Owl.
Well, I think they're saying like it's flying at you, you're confused. Shadows.
I mean, that's what they said. That's what everybody that debunks or tries to debunk Mothman says it was just an owl. Or it was the crane.
I mean, I don't know. Based on all the sketches I've seen, it's hard to believe it's an owl.
I think that watching that documentary changed my mind a lot. Listening to the two May brothers talk, they're not backwoods. They're really just normal guys.
It's not the guys from Wrong Turn.
No, they're really
Good
just
movie.
like average, well-dressed, older guys, well-spoken. I feel like it's like an insult to their intelligence to say it was an owl. They saw an owl,
right?
Yeah.
So like we saw what we saw.
Right.
It wasn't a fucking owl.
And what's really interesting, because this sounds fucking crazy, really. I mean, it sounds like something out of a science fiction movie, but this is one that bothered J. Allen Hynek. This was one that he was like, there's something to this, and the Air Force said, nah, it's an owl. Kind of.
Air Force like, nope, it's an owl. You're wrong.
Yeah.
End of story.
So I did some extra research on this. Hold on, I gotta get my phone. I gotta find this one guy's name. He wrote this book.
We're off the script at this point.
Yeah, this is one of those rare times that I didn't type anything down, because if there's one thing I can just talk about, it's aliens.
I tend to believe this story. I don't think there's evidence to refute it. Like you said, where's the? If it was a meteor, where's the fucking meteor?
Like that guy's.
No one pulled the meteor out of there,
right?
Yeah,
which is weird.
Could it have been shrapnel though?
Shrapnel of what?
Of the meteor, like maybe if something that broke off.
But then where did it go?
Somebody would have found the meteor.
But just small parts of it, not the full meteor. I
Like
mean,
it
you guys said
broke
there
up?
was meteor showers that at this time.
But what caused the 20-foot depression though? If the meteor broke up in the atmosphere, there would be small parts, but it wouldn't have made a 20-foot wide depression in the grass, I guess.
And the other thing I forgot to mention was that the treetops were broken too.
Yeah, right.
And
right.
Blue Book does acknowledge that the treetops were all broke.
So it passed through the tree.
Yeah, something
did.
But then there was just no meteor there for that.
So we believe meteor up until we can't prove that there's the depression
right
in the ground. Okay,
it's
just
strange.
questionable.
There's this guy that wrote this book, Ben Medsrich. He also wrote the Facebook book that got turned into a movie. And he wrote some other book that was like super popular, but then for whatever reason, this guy just branched off into UFOs.
What's Facebook?
The Social Network? Like
Yeah,
the one
yeah.
they made the movie out of?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this guy, and he had some other book that was like big time on the top charts. But so for whatever reason, he branched off and wanted to write a book about UFOs. What he found was on the 37th parallel going around the planet, almost all UFO sightings, cow mutilations, like Bigfoot sightings, all kind of weird shit happens on this 37th parallel. Like the majority of paranormal things happen there. So then we're talking about like magnets, like that's what it's kind of attributed is, like, because the magnetism is weird on that parallel. Kick it up to Alan Hynek. He said that it's like this interdimensional thing. Go to John Keel. He always believed in window areas. That's what he said. Was that there's something about certain places in the world where there's window areas that these things slip through, like Mothman, the Men in Black. They're
the Skinwalker Ranch portal.
Exactly. Like these things slip through.
Bigelow bought the ranch.
Yeah.
Day late and a dollar short, my friend.
I'm sure I'm not the only one that's ever thought to look at this or do it, but I couldn't find anything specifically. So I found the most recent magnetic anomalies map of West Virginia. And then I took where Point Pleasant is. Well, I took where Braxton County is first, and I put it over. Braxton, the majority of the state is pretty green, a little bit of yellow, but then like the whole bottom half is blue. So there's like nothing going on. Right through Braxton County is pretty orange. So it's higher through there. But the one that's really interesting was smack dab in the middle of Point Pleasant is like fucking dark red. Like crazy amount of weird magnetic shit going on there.
Damn.
Who creates that map? Like how does that work?
It's I believe now it's satellite. There's satellites that measure
Just
it.
satellite imaging of magnetic. What?
Yeah, 'cause
magnetic resonant. Like what's the?
Yeah, the Smithsonian. The one thing I looked at, the Smithsonian had like a map of the whole planet. It was pretty. It was pretty cool. Like there's all kind of. I mean, there's some places in the world that are different. But if you believe in the window area, I mean, if you believe in interdimensional things, something needs to open that up.
Yeah.
And if it's a magnetic anomaly, it's interesting. It's interesting, and that kind of brings up the thing that people always say, like, oh, why doesn't it show up in New York City and stuff? Because I looked at that too, because that's always something everybody says. There's nothing. There's nothing weird going on as far as magnetic stuff.
It's interesting. I might have to look at that magnetic map because that's interesting.
It's pretty cool. It changes a lot. Like it fluctuates, but it from what I read, it will stay relatively the same, but it does fluctuate at times. So the most updated, I can't remember what year it was. It's recent. It's only from within a year or two. But yeah, Point Pleasant was like fucking crazy. The amount of the anomaly going on there.
Yeah, fucking Indrid Cold is hanging out.
I mean, if you want to believe that theory, that would make sense. Where if you're just going off that, it's a little orange. It's orange in Braxton County. It's high, so it's just like this one kind of thing happens. But it's like dark red in Point Pleasant, and one of the biggest paranormal things ever goes on there. You got the Men in Black doing weird shit. You got UFO sightings galore.
The fucking smiling man running around in the cold.
Where else in the rest of the U.S. does the heat map show up as red or orange?
I have not looked at anything else really, but I think it's something that I am gonna do going forward when we do any type of paranormal stuff, is check that out, because it's really it's interesting. And that guy's
it's very interesting.
And that guy's book is I listened to a podcast with him talking about everything, and he did the fucking legwork, man. He was down there investigating all these things just right along the 37th parallel with all this crazy just like the magnetic anomalies of everything.
It's wild.
Yeah, it runs right through all that shit. All the cattle 90% of cattle mutilation stuff, just it's wild.
Missing 411. Anything run through there?
Yeah, probably. I would assume.
Missing 411 available in the archives. One of our better episodes, and one that was surprisingly in like our top 10 downloads. Like out of nowhere, that one blew up.
It's a great episode. Fucking creepy.
It's a great episode.
It's creepy as shit.
Did we ever put out a bad episode, Dave? I don't think so.
Well,
our worst episode's an A- at worst. Just saying.
Yeah, this one was super interesting. I went into this thinking like I knew it. I've seen pictures of it before. I went in more cryptid on this, and then I'm like, oh, this is a fucking alien story. This is a straight up UFO thing.
Definitely.
That has my dude Alan Hynek believes in it.
I don't disagree. I
Yeah.
believe this story 100%.
So what do you think? What do you think it was? Like, do you think it was something in its like astronaut outfit?
It sure seems like it. Like if I envision we sent a spacecraft to another planet.
Yeah.
This is like if there were people on Mars and we sent a spacecraft to Mars, this would be their description of our astronauts when they came across them.
Right. They would
Big
be like
bobbleheads.
Yeah.
Blowed up motherfuckers.
Of course.
Yeah, sure. So is that what we're going with? Is there an alien craft that crashed?
I 100% believe this story. After there's a lot of fucking goofy shit with like how it things blew out of proportion as this like how they said the kids were all puking and sick and the dog died 2 weeks later. Like all this kind of urban legend shit got attached to it. But
that's 1950s reporters embellishing things to write a story.
I agree.
I don't know that discounts the accuracy of the story. Yeah, I agree. It's another interesting. When I was looking for background videos on this, the most frequent thing that comes up is a video on Fallout 76, where
is that a video game?
Yeah, it's the hardest monster to find in Fallout. The Flatwoods Monster. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to. I know you have to fight Mothman in it too.
Do you guys play both that game?
That's Angie. That's all that shit up there. That's all Fallout stuff.
Okay.
I do have the shirt. Ian and I both got the shirt from the Mothman Museum.
I got the koozie.
I
got the koozie, so I won.
Got the koozie.
I won the real battle here. Drinking out that koozie tonight.
Yeah, that shirt's sweet. I love that shirt.
I don't know. This was a fun episode, though.
It's good shit. Nice change of pace. I mean, it's not like the story. Like I said, they only saw this thing for like 10 minutes, so it's a really quick encounter, and it never came back. That kind of leads more proof to it too, in my opinion. It's like it never came back. It probably was like, fuck.
Yeah, I found these fucking hillbillies in West Virginia. It's
of all the places to land,
nothing going on here. We don't need to return.
Like two places you don't want to land in the United States: West Virginia and Florida, because no one's gonna fucking take you seriously. Like you land in Ohio or Kansas or Utah or Colorado, people are like, okay, maybe so. Like something fucking different.
There's parts of Ohio that I would classify.
Well, Ian, I'm not going to go on that road tonight still.
Like most of Ohio.
Even still, West Virginia and Florida, we don't take you seriously. I'm not going to put that in Ohio. Is there a lot of stories out of Ohio, though?
Like what?
Like from like paranormal or UFO?
Oh, yeah. We got the Loveland Frogmen.
See, we got to start talking about this shit. The Frogmen.
We'll do the Frogmen eventually. Awesome. The Frogmen, the Melonheads out. That Melonheads are close. That's out in Kirkland.
We can't do hometown heroes every week.
Well, we absolutely can if we wanted to.
There's just too many of them.
All kind of shit going on in the
All
world.
right.
I love
Well, then
the
fuck
monster
Ohio.
stuff.
What the hell do I know?
I do
Fuck.
too. I love this story.
The monster stuff's cool.
This is a good story, though.
Yeah, it gets interesting with the whole the Air Force, you know.
I just want to see one of these things one time.
Something that just
You
blows
say
my
that.
mind.
You guys say that. But if you saw this,
Yes.
Dave, if you're taking your dog out late at night,
Yes.
Ian, you're outside taking the trash out, you fucking saw this thing 100 feet away. How do you react from there? Like, what do you do? Like, I feel like that's a life-changing thing to see.
Look,
Like,
I'm
you're not going to sleep that night. If you
no,
see
I'll
something
admit
like
I'll be scared shitless and I might shit my pants.
Like,
but
I would
still
not-
want to see it though.
I don't.
Oh, I do for sure.
I wouldn't be Ed Walters.
I'm not running full
You're not gonna
force.
you're not
at
going to be
it.
shooting in bushes at this thing
Yeah.
naked.
I 100% want to see it though.
I don't want to know that fucking exists. I mean, I think I want to know that exists, but I don't want to experience it myself as being the one that be like,
Oh, I
it is
do.
like that fucking exists.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think there's something to. I think there's something to that whole idea of that the government doesn't declassify things because they don't know what it is and they're not going to admit.
I 100%
something.
agree with that.
I think Tom DeLonge has shown that with all that Navy stuff. I mean, the Navy just came out the other day with that and said that these are, what do they call them? Not unidentified, something aerial phenomenon. They won't use the term UFO because they don't want to get all. But they say they don't know what it is. I think that's what it is. I think that they're not gonna admit to something that they don't understand.
Well, I think Tom DeLonge definitely shows us like all the small things.
Tom DeLonge also posts a lot of pictures of himself on Instagram. I started following him for the UFO stuff.
Yeah.
He literally just posts pictures of himself all day long. So I'm like, dude, I'm unfollowing
That's
you.
great.
Man. I know what you look like. I don't need to see a picture of you every day.
Ian, say it ain't so.
Yeah.
I will not go. Yeah, I don't think. Okay, so if you saw that, Dave, Ian, you guys are saying you're not going to be terrified. Are you pulling out your phone? Are you running away? What are you doing if you saw that? And I want, think realistically. If you're outside late at night, you see that figure.
I'm pulling out the phone for sure.
I think you have to.
I think
You
I
have
would.
to.
I don't even know if I would think to do that. I'd probably be really scared.
Yeah, true.
If it's at a distance, like if it's down the way, you see this figure, this light. Are you pulling out the phone, or are you frozen, or
I'm not running away. I'll tell you that. I'd like to think I would have
just
the
want
wherewithal to pull out my phone.
I want to think
I'm not
that too,
retreating
Dave.
though.
I want for once someone to pull out their phone in a situation so we have fucking evidence.
I think I'm pulling out my phone.
Yeah. I don't know. I know if I was like those people in the car, if that story is real and you believe that at face value, and this thing's just like getting real close to the windows and looking in,
I
understand.
I understand that's terrifying.
Why didn't they pull out their 35 millimeter 1950s camera?
Well, it's a good question, Dave. That's why I'm asking now. I want to know if this stuff all happened back then. Why is it not happening now? And if it is happening now, in the age of smartphones, why is nothing being captured?
It's a valid argument.
Yeah, I mean,
I guess that's where my skepticism comes from.
Yeah,
and I'm skeptical too. I always make the argument: why don't these things show up in Times Square where 10,000 people are going to see them?
Right.
Yeah.
It's always fucking like Roswell, where there's 12 people or
right.
whatever.
and then you could, I don't know, maybe it's the John Keel window areas theory.
Yeah, and maybe it is.
There are certain places in the world that
But come visit me. I want to see this.
stuff slips through.
Yeah.
If you're an alien, we want you on the show. So come on, hit us up at Necronomipod on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube,
Visit our neighborhood.
Facebook.
Visit us when I'm
come
walking
say
home,
what's up.
stumbling home tonight.
You will be our second in-studio guest after Casey Anthony, which we're working on. That's a joke. We're not getting her.
We're trying though.
It's not for lack of effort. Ian, you got anything else for the old Flatwoods Monster?
No, it was a nice change of pace.
This was a fun episode.
Yeah,
Nice, something different.
and we got
Kind of
some
like a Mothman Part 3 almost.
Yeah, slightly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got the same vibe. We got some heavy hitters coming up in probably what the next like 4 weeks straight, 4 or 5 weeks straight. We got some
counting the bonus episodes. So if you're not on Patreon, you might want to get on it. We got some good stuff coming.
You don't want to miss out.
Yeah,
we got some heavy shit coming down the road, especially next week.
Dave, what do you got for us on Flatwoods?
I have nothing else to offer.
You believe the story?
I do, and I love these stories. These are my favorite kind of stories.
You believe this story? You don't believe in Jesus?
Jesus does not exist, and if you can offer me any actual proof, I will be open to discussing it with you. But
you believe the Flatwoods Monster?
There's absolutely no historical proof ever presented that Jesus was an actual person that walked the earth. So
I regret asking that question.
Just my opinion. I could be wrong.
Someone sent me a meme. I can't remember who exactly sent it. It was like paranormal people or whatever, and it was like believes in magic and all this shit. And it was like also paranormal people. Jesus doesn't exist.
Kind of true. A little bit.
Look, aliens visiting from another planet is far more believable than someone being executed and rising from the dead.
Maybe Jesus was an alien. There's those theories out there.
That's more plausible.
You just blew our minds.
That will just pop on the History Channel and watch Ancient Aliens. They bring that shit up sometimes.
The guy's got a sweet fucking haircut. So
Giorgio Tsoukalos is his last name. I think it's Giorgio Tsoukalos.
The guy's cool as fuck.
Yeah, that dude is all about it. It's always aliens, that fucking guy. There's no question ever. It's always aliens.
So the next couple weeks, we got some really fun episodes coming up. We're not going to give them away necessarily because plans are always subject to change.
Maybe not so fun for the people that met these people, but fun for us to discuss, right?
Yeah.
So the next couple weeks into 2020, which, did we discuss the poll? I don't think we discussed the final results.
No, we didn't.
So for those of you who've been sticking around, we put out a poll as to what our first episode of 2020 would be. We probably should have covered this at the beginning of the episode, but we didn't. JonBenet Ramsey won.
Yep.
So that's what we'll be covering in the first episode of 2020. She beat out Casey Anthony, Michael Jackson, and Ted Bundy. So we're going to cover JonBenet Ramsey for the first episode of 2020. Thank you, everyone, for voting.
Yeah.
Her and Casey Anthony actually blew away the competition.
Yeah.
And
well, Casey Anthony usually blows away the competition.
She blows away our competition.
I thought we were going to be moonwalking into 2020 for a minute there, but Michael, he was in the lead for. There was a lot of votes for him in the beginning, but
in all fairness, so JonBenet and Casey Anthony ended up with a clear cut. Those were the 1 and 2, with JonBenet winning, obviously. But I think we're going to cover all 4 probably in 2020. Big subjects, all fun subjects, and things we'll touch on. So, JonBenet won the vote. We should have covered that probably earlier. We didn't, though. But anyways, if you're still listening to us, JonBenet won the vote for the New Year's show. So that'll be out. Well, I think it's that first Sunday. It's January 5th or something like that.
Yeah.
So that'll be the show. Anyways,
like 4 or 5 weeks of murder coming up here. So.
We have some. Right. We actually have some really fun shows coming up. So if you are not into the Scientology and into more of the murder, stick around. If you love the Scientology, we'll stick around because we're fucking like CSI the next couple weeks. It's going to be fun. Happy holidays. We're bringing you murder. Quick shout outs to the patrons who have joined this past week. We appreciate you very much. Thank you to Brent, Isaiah Gray, Rachel Leavitt, Stephen, Heather, David Purton, David Pearton, Cynthia Carragines, Lee, E, Tallgrass Northwest, or Tallgrass NW, and Allie Motley. Thank you very much. Ian, what do you got for us?
For iTunes, I have Chloe123. Oh, it's Devin. Megan DTX. Thank you guys for the shout outs. And I just want to say thanks. I know we said it last week, but thanks again for everybody that's been listening. I mean, we got our downloads have now gotten to a point that I think we're looking pretty good to get some real advertisement going on, and
we might also become like a real podcast.
Yeah. So thank you so much for everybody that's been listening. It's been a great year so far. It's really cool.
I feel like we're rookie of the year for podcasts, in my own opinion.
In your humble opinion?
In my humble opinion, we might be the fucking rookie of the year.
Great of you to say.
We went from you and I, Ian, sitting here across from each other, doing the most rambling, nonsensical podcast that no one would ever care to listen to, to adapting Dave, who has brought an entire new element to the show, a fantastic element to the show.
Oh, thanks, man.
And we've since January have done nothing but gain downloads.
Yeah, and
that's because of the listeners.
Yeah,
and people like shouting us out and spreading the word.
Yeah, it's been sweet. I mean, we went from January having 2,000 downloads for that month to last month 50,000.
Which puts us in the top, 5% of downloads.
God damn.
For any podcast, period, we're in the top 5% of downloads.
Yeah, because there's a lot of podcasts that get started every day.
Everyone's got a podcast now.
Well, what blew my mind the most was you sent out that stats to us earlier, and it said the average podcast gets 140 downloads a month.
Yeah.
We get that in the first half hour.
Yeah.
Oh, 5 minutes.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
2 minutes, probably.
Well, you're probably right, Dave. I mean, it's
and I don't know if people, if they think we're big or whatever. I mean, we're literally sitting in my home office basement
recording a show that I hope that they're clearly under digging and liking, and we couldn't be more grateful because
it's very DIY out here.
It's awesome. We appreciate it.
Exactly. DIY.
We love it.
I don't even have a limo to take me home. It's fucking freezing outside. I got to walk home tonight.
Literally, when we leave, and this episode is ending at almost midnight, Dave and I both have to walk to our houses in the fucking freezing cold temperatures because we don't have that money to drive us home. Soon we will.
And we're drunk, so we can't drive.
Well, we've been drunk since what, fucking noon, in my mind. Whatever. We got through it. Anyways, the point was we really appreciate everyone listening because this has been unbelievable that we've had this many people subscribe and become patrons and download our episodes. Hope you guys are enjoying it. We're always looking for requests. Let us know on the social medias if you guys have anything you want us to cover. We're always keeping long lists. Dave, I think you have some shout outs, don't you?
From Instagram, Anna Taschetti and Emily Schmemily. Thank you so much.
Boom. We are on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube at Necronomipod. We are on Patreon at patreon.com/Necronomipod. And if you're interested in getting any merchandise, we have hoodies, t-shirts, tank tops, and long sleeves, men's and women's styles available. If you go to Amazon and search Necronomipod. We appreciate all your guys' support, and we will see you guys next week.
All right, you guys ready for a cool down beer?
Cheers.